67 days ago, I took an oath as a freshman legislator, right on these steps. Many of you were here that day, including Jonathan, on the other side of a barrier, holding signs celebrating liberty. After taking that oath, I left these steps to greet those behind the fence. Many other legislators that are here today were greeting them with me. It was clear that they believed that those who passed the laws in this building were not keeping their oath of office, that they were not protecting their natural rights to life, liberty, and property, that they did not feel they were being represented. Now, I think of myself as a stoic Scandinavian. I have the sweater to prove it. But I confess that it took considerable effort when I was greeting those folks behind the fence to hold back the tears as I witnessed the passion they had for liberty on that day. My own conversion to become a lover of liberty came about as a college student. I attended an alternative energy fair where the Libertarian Party had a literature table. I grabbed about a dozen brochures and tossed them in the dresser drawer in my dorm room. Several days later, I pulled them out and read them. It was at that moment in my heart, I knew that the words were true. Now, each of you have your own story on how you became a lover of liberty, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. Now imagine with me what it would be like if there were more of us, to build a critical mass to better influence policy in this state, working together, proselytizing others for liberty, making converts, more ambassadors for liberty. I don't need to tell you how critical it is for our voices to be heard and listened to. The alternative is to go further down the road to serfdom. Now, it appears that Connecticut is slowly opening up. Rule by executive order is coming to a close. But arbitrary central rule lasting over 1 year should never have happened in the first place. A free people armed with facts are capable of governing themselves. Rule by executive order is coming to a close, but threats to liberty persist. I learned in my military career that even when you're fighting the battle in front of you, you must be preparing for the next battle. I want to submit to you what I believe are the two greatest threats to liberty, which in some cases have joined together in single pieces of proposed legislation. Pardon me, my fingers are frozen. The first threat is a possible declaration of a climate emergency. There are many at state, national, and even international level who want to do just that. And they're looking at this COVID emergency as a practice run. We all here know that when government declares an emergency, the rule of law is thrown out the window, and we're subject to arbitrary rule of men. If climate change becomes a declared emergency, it will justify ever-increasing restrictions on our freedoms and our property. Now, this is not the proper forum to argue whether global warming is happening, and it's not happening today, or whether global warming is a serious threat. I'll leave that to scientists, but many of the scientists have been compromised by the promise of research dollars or muzzled if their findings don't toe the party line. Climate change left the realm of science long ago. It's become a religion. The second threat to liberty is critical race theory. There are some who want to make everything about race. You're either racist or anti-racist. For those who adhere to this theory, it's not enough to believe that everyone should have equal protection under the law like we all do. To them, you're either part of an oppressed class or you're an oppressor. All this sounds strangely similar to a certain manifesto first published in 1848. There are many bills pending in the legislature that address climate and race crises. Some bills even attempt to fix both in one law. An example, one bill subject to a recent public hearing in the Labor Committee, of which I'm a member. The title of the law is An Act Concerning a Just Transition to Climate Protective Energy Production and Community Investment. Many who promote legislation like this are well-intentioned. Some are seeking power and privilege through the results of those laws. But the effect of bad legislation is more unequal treatment under the law and more redistribution of wealth. When we stand against bad policy and for liberty, Our opponents try to shut us down. They frequently stoop to the lowest form of discourse, that is name-calling, labeling us as science deniers, racists, etc. They also try to deplatform us. Why? Because those who try to gain power through lies cannot tolerate the light of truth. What is our call to action? How are we to get new converts for the cause of liberty? One of the first principles of liberty is non-coercion. But I suggest that's not enough. Let me restate this concept in not original terms. Love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. Our neighbors, that is everyone, need to know we care. We do not care what we believe unless we believe we care about them. Many of our neighbors value government-promised security over their individual liberty. We need to guide them to see that expanding government is the real threat to personal security. We all know that freedom-based solutions are not only morally right, they are the only ones that actually work. Each of us must be ambassadors for liberty in our own sphere, utilizing our unique creator-granted abilities. Once we have done that, we can be at peace and leave the results of our efforts to the Creator, who is the very author of liberty. Thank you.